And this morning our studio guest is the Minister for Finance, Senator Penny Wong. First, we'll see what the Sunday papers are reporting around the country, and Fran Kelly, the lead story in the Sun Herald, is the scandal at the ADF Academy in Canberra.
Yes, it says heads will roll, sex video outrage puts defence boss in firing line. It's about the Skype sex scandal at ADFA. It's really only talking about one head that will roll. Suggestion that the head of ADFA, Commodore Bruce Kafer, will have to eventually be punished for the way that this whole event has been handled. In other words, his career will be on the line. Now, some say that that's exactly what the Defence Minister Stephen Smith was angling at all week. He hasn't quite gone to that point, but clearly the Minister has made clear his outrage and fury at the way Defence handled it, and the person handling it was Commodore Bruce Kafer. And what Hugh Remington from Channel 10 revealed in The Australian yesterday was even more details of the initial contact between the young girl involved and the Commodore. He was reassuring to her in initial conversation, but he also made clear that they had a responsibility to look after all concerned, that's including the young men involved in this scandal, who perpetrated the scandal. And he also, according to the Hugh Remington report, asked her to perhaps go and address her fellow ADFA cadets and apologise for bringing the division into disrepute. Now, if that's true, when she went and did that, she got slandered and abused and called a slut and all sorts of things. If it is true that that's what the Commodore did, then clearly he has mishandled this event, quite clearly. Now, there's a lot of support. Some who've had dealings with Bruce Kafer say he's a terrific Commodore of ADFA, but perhaps in these kinds of issues, dealing with these kind of gender issues, he's, not modernised, shall we say.
One of the legal officers was quoted as saying that the ADF is in the dark ages compared with rugby league. So it's had experiences with both. And I think what David Gallop was saying is that what rugby league does, at least, is that they have a transparency, they have a punishment system, but they get outside advice. Maybe that's the key to it. They need more outside advice, Dennis.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is a cultural issue, it seems, and the culture in the Defence Forces just seems to be completely disconnected from the culture that most Australians expect and try and live by. And I think, they've got to fix that. Otherwise, the public won't have confidence in them.
And they're making this commentary, and we heard the CDF, Angus Houston. Most Australians have a lot of respect for Angus Houston, very honourable guy. But when he's also bringing this line, look, there's less of these kind of incidents in the ADFA Defence Force Academy than there is in the university. These kids have only been here 10 weeks. I think that misses the point. It's not necessarily that these events happen, it's then how they're managed and handled, as you say, the reporting, the investigation, and commentary like this. If this is how the ADFA boss is talking to a young girl, clearly she shouldn't have been asked to go to apologise to her colleagues.
It's also the only one we know about. She went to the media and she exposed the whole thing. Who's to say that, it hasn't been going on?
Well, we know it has been going on. Yeah. I spoke to a ex-senior Navy woman from the Navy who's a fellow at ADFA who said, in the last several years she could give us a number of incidents like this.
Yeah. Now, Kevin Rudd, a couple of double-page spreads on Kevin Rudd. We haven't seen that for a couple of years.
No, we haven't. Kevin Rudd has got double-page spreads in a majority of the Sunday papers this morning. He's getting a better run than Black Caviar did yesterday, but it is quite remarkable. The Sunday Telegraph has got a story saying that he's going to stand again, but before anybody gets too excited, he's talking about renominating for the seat of Griffith, which is actually something we knew because that was in Pam Williams's article, a profile of him in the Fin Review a couple of weeks ago. But I think the most interesting thing in this article is he says that he sat down with Therese, his wife, and the family over summer, and that was when he realised that it was a bad call to delay the ETS back in April last year. So it actually took him 8 months before he realised he'd done the wrong thing. I think that's extraordinary.
Yeah. Now, clearly the shoppers out there are saying yes to Kevin Rudd. The caucus at this stage, I think, would be still a no. Now, it's a no from Malcolm Turnbull as well, and he was reminiscing on Friday night about the prospect of Kevin Rudd back in question time as Prime Minister.
There were moments, when, one would look at a sort of a sharpened pencil with a thought, if I jab that into my eyeball, will that be less painful than listening to the Prime Minister go on for 8 minutes?
And there's a Kudelka cartoon this morning as well, which reminds us the next time that Kevin rhymes with the year is 2027, so he'll need to be patient. Nikki, poker machines, I guess it depends on what paper you read as to whether they're actually deadlocked on this decision or there's a potential breakthrough.
Well, another problem area for the government, of course, another very difficult problem gambling. Two slightly different versions today, one in the Sun Herald and one in the Sunday Telegraph. One saying, implying that they're a long way from agreement, and the other that there might be some agreement in the offing. But really, Andrew Wilkie is going to be insisting that all the reforms that he wanted implemented, which he signed in the agreement with Gillard, must be implemented. And she has a year to enact that legislation, so it's going to be a very testing time for her. I think one of the interesting things here too is that every time people talk about tobacco companies, they say, why doesn't the Liberal Party refuse to accept money from tobacco companies because they're evil? Well, the Liberals get $50,000 from tobacco companies in the past year, and Labor from the Canberra Labor clubs alone got $600,000 in the year to June 10, so that's a bit of an internal problem for Labor to address too.
And these are fights that the government can't afford to lose. I mean, whether it's the clubs or other business groups, after what the mining industry did last year with its $20 million campaign and got the government to back down, everybody else thinks, well, if we put enough pressure on, if we threaten them with a big advertising campaign, they'll back down.
You can see it's the prototype now,
oh,
can't
yeah,
you? You can
absolutely.
just see it being rolled out again and again.
Well,
we're spending $20 million on this.
But you've got to have $20 million.
Well, they have, and they've got a fund, the pokies industry, the hotels and clubs, so they've got a $20 million fund ready to go, I think.
Yep.
And where it could work, of course, is with the other independents, Windsor and Oakeshott, who might not support Wilkie, so that would make life even more complicated, I think.
And Wilkie's reminding the Prime Minister his support is dependent on this. He will pull his support if he doesn't get the changes promised.